And welcome back to my channel, unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And yeah, we're going to continue on with the next little spotlight. As keeping with the spirit of my channel, what I hope is when people look through the back catalog, those who are nice enough to subscribe or visit me, I try to spotlight what I believe is very good horror movies to me, what I get out of them, and hopefully stuff that you've never seen before. I do the big ones, but I also try to, I've got 3,000 plus movies. I like to spotlight stuff you may not have heard of, not aware of, and that you might enjoy having in your collection that is more than just the 4 or 5 mainstream movies that are released every year that you hear about. So it's sort of more for the horror connoisseur and the film lover to find things that they may not have heard of. And we are going to continue now with this wonderful movie I've always loved called Heartless. Now, Heartless is by the same guy who did The Reflecting Skin, if you've ever seen that. He's a he makes very strange movies, but they're very, very deep and very good. Now, Heartless was released in 2009. It was written and directed by Philip Ridley, the guy whom I spoke of. It stars Jim Sturgess, Luke Treadaway, and Clémence Poésy. So, Heartless. This is an upgrade from the DVD that I just got. Very happy to have it. Heartless is set in East London, and it is about a guy named Jamie. Now, Jamie was born with a very, very obvious birthmark on his face. It is a giant heart-shaped birthmark on his face. As you can imagine, he's very, it's on his left eye, and it's a very big heart-shaped kind of thing. But he's also got, like, the birthmark also goes on down his body a little bit. But of course, he's very cute. But, I've only seen one other movie that starred a person with a facial birthmark like that. And that's this wonderful little movie, which I do have a video on, called 12 and Holding. The kid in that movie also had a big giant birthmark on his face, which, like in this one, led to bullying and stuff like that was really undeserved. Because I think he's really cute even with the birthmark. Some people just aren't bothered by that kind of stuff. If it was an ugly birthmark, but I actually thought it was pretty cool to have a heart on your face like that. You look like, Harley Quinn or something? But it's not like nobody's ever heard of facial tattoos, right? But, so we're introduced to him. He lives with his mom. He is an amateur photographer. He likes street photography. His brother is a professional photographer who does, like, portraits and stuff, whereas he is more of a, one of those urban photographers that you can go find their channels where they like to take street pictures and ruins and abandoned buildings and stuff like that. So that's kind of what he is into. And as he's doing this, he also has all this personal stuff that he has to deal with the tattoo. The birthmark. But he begins to notice that in a lot of the places he goes, which are, if you've ever seen Wolfen, the movie Wolfen, the werewolf movie, it's a lot of places like that, run down, disheveled estates and things like that. So he kind of tends to hang more in those areas, taking his photos and stuff. But he starts to notice that there's, like, some kind of being, like in the windows and stuff. And he'll look through his photos and he's like, what is that? It looks like a person, but at the same time, it looks like a demon. Now, at the same time, there's this wave of violence that has hit East London. And lots of people are being like attacked on the street by these people with these, what they believe to be as these weird masks on their face. And he starts realizing that those look like, the news reports, he starts really realizing that those look like those images, the things that he sees. So he starts like actually going out at late at night looking for them. And there is a time when he finds 3 of them. And he hears like somebody getting attacked, and then he follows them and he finds them in the back of some vacant lot. And they like are burning stuff and throwing Molotov cocktails because their MO is to set people on fire, right? Well, they see him, take a picture of him, and they kind of like come at him, and they got this like demon kind of face, which is also some graffiti that he's been seeing around, this demon face. Lizard skeleton. It's sort of like a skeletal lizard face. So these people know that he exists now. These things knows that he exists now. And one night, him and his mom are at a bus stop. They're at a trolley place. They're at the trolley stop, and then all of a sudden, they're attacked by this little gang. And his mother is set on fire and burned alive in front of him. So his brother's really upset. His brother's son, Liam, is like 17 and a half, 18. And then, so you've got his older brother, you got him, and then you've got Liam. They're all very, very upset. He, of course, knows that it's not what they believe, that it's not some street gang, that it's these demon-type creatures. So he continues his search, and he then gets a phone call right on his mobile. And it's from somebody going, I know, we know, you know, come see us. So he goes to this really spooky abandoned apartment complex that looks a great deal like that apartment complex in that film Ayres, which I love. But so he goes there and goes up there, and that's when the movie like really gets reflective skin kind of weird, because he goes up there to a certain floor and he meets this, this individual who, I'm so far ahead, I don't know if I can find it, but he meets this guy. Meanwhile, like a neighbor, AJ, had moved in next door to him because they wanted him to leave his mother's apartment, but he refused, So this guy, AJ, had come in. AJ ends up being attacked several times and disappears, and then they find his mutilated corpse in the Thames, in the river. So there was that part, of the movie. So he's there, and he meets this guy and this little girl. And this little girl, who kind of like refers to that guy as like Dad, Pop. He turns out to be like the Lord of the Demons, right? And he offers him a deal. It's that Crossroads, devil went down to Georgia kind of thing. So he like offers him a deal and is like, if you join with our cause, and then he explains what he is. He's a demon that balances the scales. For good, there must be chaos. That's what keeps the human race progressing. So I will grant your wish if you do this. This is the deal. So he tells him that the deal is cause some chaos, What I want you to do is I want you to do that graffiti that you've been seeing. At least once a month, you have to go out and you have to put that graffiti everywhere. Graffiti that upsets people. God is dead. Whatever's shocking. It's to create chaos, regardless of exactly what you do. It's to create chaos. So he agrees, and the guy puts him through this really horrible ritual where he's like has to stand there and let himself be burned alive. And then he's like one big giant scab. But then it peels off and he's perfect. He's perfect. All of the birthmark is gone. His face is perfect, beautiful. And that was the deal. We'll give you what you've always wanted and make you perfect if you do this chaos for me. There's a man that will come and see you, and he will tell you when to do your graffiti thing. He's called the Weapons Man. Could be one day, could be 10 years, but when he shows up, he'll give you your assignment. So he goes home and he's all happy, right? Because like the neighbors are all like, oh, what happened to you? You know, I mean, they don't make fun of him anymore because he's like this beautiful guy and all that stuff is gone. Well, he only gets like, he even meets this chick and she like acts like she likes him, and you know, so like he's actually got a girlfriend now. And but it's only a couple of days before the Weapon Man shows up. And he's like, I thought you would be like, he said, one day, 10 years. It's your turn. He then proceeds to tell him that on the next full moon, you have to kill someone, cut out their hearts, and put the heart on the steps of a Catholic church. And he's like, wait a second. I remember the deal. And the deal was that I'm supposed to scrawl some offensive graffiti on the wall every once in a while to cause chaos. And, you know, and the Weapons Man is like, you believed him? He's an evil demon. You believed him? Did you believe him? How stupid of you. Well, anyway, this is what you've got to do. And he's like, well, I'm not doing that. And the guy's like, really? Hold on a second. So he calls the guy on his mobile, right? And he's like, yeah, we're having some problems. He doesn't want to do it. Well, the demon, like, uses his powers, and it's like, it like, levitates him like the Exorcist, and, like, throws him all around the room, and knocks him on the roof and all that, until he's like, please stop, okay. And you're like, deals with the devil never work out well, do they? So, the Weapon Man is like, are we cool now? Okay. Oh, one other thing. It's the full moon, so you've got till midnight tonight to do this. So dude is like freaked out because he's like, I'm supposed to like find a person and murder them and cut their heart out and stuff. So he doesn't know what to do. And this was a little offensive, but not really, because it's not like intentional. He did target some drunk guy who came out of a bar. But that guy like met up with friends and took off. And it was at that spot that he looked down the road and he saw this guy standing up against the wall. So he goes down there and he like checks him out. Turns out it's a rent boy, right? And the guy's like, oh yeah, what do you want? You know, and the guy's like, he doesn't know what to do, but this is, you know, tick tock, right? So he's like, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? Well, you offer me some money and we go back to your place. So he takes him home and he then is like, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't. And you got this little girl that like, she's like mystical and she like appears, you know, to him. And she really likes him and is trying, but basically what she is the innocent looking devil's henchman is what she is. But she looks like a little girl, an innocent little girl who's scared of the pops. So she's like egging him on, like, you've got to do it. And he's like, but I don't want to hurt him. Doesn't matter. You have to do it. So he tricks the guy into letting him saran wrap him or something like that. And the guy suggested it himself because, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And here you have this Rentwood going, what is it you're into? What do you want to do? You want to do this? You want to do that? You want to do this? And she's like, make him shut up and make him be still. So he's like, yeah, I'll do the saran wrap thing. So he like saran wraps him, and it's like, I was so hoping that he would not go through with it, but he does, and he like, oh, I felt so sorry for that guy, but he like cut him from here down to here and took his heart out, and just at the toll of the bell of midnight, he put his heart on there, and he's got to try to get rid of the body, and stuff like that. He's very, very upset. It was very bloody, very graphic. There's a lot of graphic gore and murder in this movie. But he then is like, well, I'm not doing this shit no more. Now, you also remember, he's like got that girl moved in now, too. And I guess his attitude isn't acceptable to this demon. So the demon like has to teach him a lesson and meets him on the roof of the apartment complex, and then proceeds to tell him, you don't know who you're dealing with. And he even like shows AJ's head, and he's like, I will destroy everybody in your life. I will make your life a living hell, and I will do this. As a matter of fact, you have made me so disappointed and upset that by midnight tonight, I want another heart. But this time, I want it to be your girlfriend. Well, what kind of predicament are you in now? You know what I'm saying? So, there's some other stuff that's went on behind the scenes, especially with his brother and Liam. So, Liam shows up, and it turns out that Liam is mixed up in a gang. Liam owes them a bunch of money. Liam was there to try to get the jewelry back and stuff from Jamie's mom, his grandmother. And it turns out that that girl, she was actually part of the plan with Liam to get the valuables out of the apartment so that he could pay his drug debt or his gang debt. Well, yeah, drug debt from the gang. So that makes Jamie almost kill her because it's turned out that, guess what? See, the thing about Philip Ridley's movies, like The Reflecting Skin and stuff, the thing about his movies is that there is an awful lot of back psychological stuff going on in these movies. So what we realize, and what Jamie realizes right now, is that being beautiful, making that deal with the devil. I'm looking at the monitor and not the camera. I just noticed that. Probably looks funny, but I will. Do I have to stare at you? But he realizes that being beautiful, that horrible stuff that he was so depressed about, that he felt had caused him so much trouble in his life, so much bullying and not being liked and not being sought after. Being beautiful didn't do him a goddamn bit of good. The human race is still shit. Whether you have some kind of issue that makes you think that you aren't getting out of life what you should be getting because you're overweight or you're old or you don't fit the parameters. That you're not, that you're not Jennifer Lawrence and you're not Brad Pitt, and so you don't get all the good. In other words, like all that incel shit. You want to blame everything else for it when actually it's pretty much you, because his life has gotten a hell of a lot worse since he got his wish, than it was before. His life actually was pretty good before. He had love, he had family. Yeah, he had went through some shit growing up with the birthmark on his face, but does it compare to what you got by making an immoral deal to be beautiful? So that's what I like about. I wish he had made more movies. This Philip Ridley, because I love The Reflecting Skin as well. So he realizes that he doesn't kill her, but that gang attacks him, attacks Liam. I don't know if it didn't really show whether Liam died or not, but he was damn sure close to it because they cut him all up down there. And he attacks them, him and the girl. He barely gets out alive. And he goes hunting them. The girl ends up dead, though. So he goes out, he's chasing them, he's hunting them, he's going to get back at them and stuff like that. And he does kill a bunch of them, the little demon things. But then he starts realizing, and this is where the twist of the movie comes in, he starts realizing that several of the people really are wearing a mask. And he starts questioning whether this demon thing and all was just a delusion in his mind brought about by his isolation and hatred of himself because of that look. If this was all just a giant thing, or whether that demon pulled him in and was showing him that. So he ends up then setting himself on fire. After he burned a bunch of them up with the Molotov cocktails, he ends up getting burnt up himself. And I don't know if it was his last thought or if he came out of this delusion, but he had a vision of his dad taking photos of him at the park, and even with some kid laughing at him as he walked by. His dad was telling him how beautiful he was, how special he was, and how regardless of what anyone else thought, he was beautiful to him and the treasure, the apple of his eye. And then the movie goes off, and you're left, just like in The Reflecting Skin, you're left to wonder what parts of the movie were real and what parts were not, where the demons were concerned. The demon guy obviously existed, but were those gang members that he was like after, were they just mean gang members in masks, or were they actual real acolyte demons owned by that guy? So just like in The Reflecting Skin, you weren't really sure what that demon was doing. Was he found the lost soul and he pulled him in by giving him all his wish, which is what he had done to all of these other humans wearing masks. He had pulled them in to be his helpers. So you know the demon guy is real, but you don't know whether his minions are actual little demons or whether they are people who, just like him, who had been pulled in by this demon, tricked into becoming agents of chaos to sow chaos and cause all this death and destruction. And he had fell into it for probably one of the same reasons they did. Self-hatred, self-loathing, being unhappy with your appearance. being unhappy with your station in life, being unhappy with whatever it is that makes you unhappy and makes you feel like you aren't getting enough. And that's how cults work. That's how demons work. That's how evil works, is because you let it in because you can't accept who and what you are. And so someone comes along and says, join this party, join this revolution, join this thing, join that thing, join this cult, do these things to have a place for you to run from yourself and what you are and who you are, rather than embracing yourself. So that's kind of like the message behind this movie, and I think it's very, very thought-provoking. As a horror movie, it's really cool. This is a supernatural horror movie. The demon stuff was awesome. The special effects were awesome. The blood and gore was like the reflecting skin. There was some bad stuff in it. So overall, it works really well as a horror movie. Heartless from 2009. If you've never seen it, you should give it a shot. It's definitely a thinking man's horror movie, but it's got all of the gore and murder and storyline that you could need in a horror movie, and it's great. Heartless from 2009. And I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you, bye. Thank you very much for your time and listening to me prattle on. And I will see you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.